Hi, and welcome to my first broadcast. I'm Kevin Given, and this is Comics Let's Talk War for the Planet of the Apes. First, I'd like to tell you that I am a comic book reviewer for the comic book site Comics for Sinners. I review comic books and movies based on comic books, also novels. So I have a good idea what I'm talking about, sort of. And I want to talk about War for the Planet of the Apes. First, a lot of my spiritual friends and Christian, Muslim, what have you, seem to have a problem with the title Comics for Sinners. Well, I didn't name the site. Richard Boom is the editor-in-chief of that site, and I don't know why he decided to call the site Comics for Sinners, but that's what he decided to call it. And to all my spiritual friends out there, you all tell me that we're all sinners. It's just that some are saved by grace. So really, isn't what Richard telling us is that this is comics for all? Be that as it may, we're going to discuss Planet of the Apes, not just the new franchise, but the entire history of the Planet of the Apes. And we're going to look at the Planet of the Apes timeline, which I've gone to a different site, which got the idea from Marvel Comics. Now I'm going to leave out the comic book parts of the timeline just for the sake of speed and expediency. First, let me read my review on the Comics for Sinners website. Now, my review does not contain any spoilers, but after the review, there will be a lot of spoilers as we discuss the movie and the Planet of the Apes timeline. If you haven't seen the movie, you might want to skip part of it until you do see the movie. But first, let's look at my review of War for the Planet Nova after they find a nameplate from an old Chevrolet car. Even though we can kind of see where this is going, the stunts, effects, and action keep you riveted, and there are some nice twists, and you honestly won't expect the end results of the war turning out the way they do. Without giving away too much, I'll just say that the ending is bittersweet. One of my favorite cinema-going experiences ever. Before we look at our timeline for the Planet of the Apes series, including the new franchise as well as the original franchise, I want to take a look at Planet of the Apes in the world of comic books. Since we're not going to include the comic book happenings in that timeline, we'll look at the comic books right now. The first comic book featuring Planet of the Apes was an adaptation of the second film Beneath the Planet of the Apes, published by Gold Key Comics. It was written and drawn by Alberto Giolotti. It's 32 pages, and that is the only time that Gold Key ever adapted anything from the Planet of the Apes universe. I don't know why they didn't adapt the first movie or any subsequent movies, but by 1974, Marvel Comics had the rights to do Planet of the Apes into comic book format. They released many titles, the longest lived being Planet of the Apes, published under the Marvel imprint Curtis Magazines, which appeared in black and white magazine format, and it ran for 29 issues from 1974 to 1977. In 1975, Adventures on the Planet of the Apes offered color versions of the adaptations of the first two films in 5 or 6 issue arcs, for a total of 11 issues. It was written by Doug Moen. Between 1975 and 1977, Brown Watson Books published a trio of UK version hardcover comic annuals based on the spin-off 1974 television series. An Argentine company published 7 Spanish-language Apes comics in the 1970s, featuring original tales about the television series characters. 5 additional issues were planned, but were never produced. To date, the Spanish stories have never been published in English, but translations have been made available on fan sites. In 1981, a Hungarian company published a comic adaptation of Pierre Boulle's original novel titled The Monkey Planet. This adaptation was written and drawn by Hungarian comic artist Erno Zorad. To date, the Hungarian comics have never been published in English, but a translation has been made available on fan sites. Between 1990 and 1993, Adventure Comics, which is a division of Malibu Publishing, produced more original storylines set after the time of Caesar. These included a 24-issue monthly title, a one-shot, Sins of the Father, Planet of the Apes Annual, and 5 original miniseries, Urchak's Folly, Forbidden Zone, Ape City, Blood of the Apes, and a crossover with Alien Nation called Ape Nation. Adventure also reprinted Marvel's adaptations of the first 3 films, as well as a 4-issue series featuring installments from Marvel's Terror on the Planet of the Apes saga. Then Dark Horse released a series based on Tim Burton's 2001 Apes film, written by Ian Eddington. Dark Horse published a film adaptation, a miniseries, a brief ongoing run, a Toys R Us mini-comic, and a 3-part serial in Dark Horse Extra. Then Mr. Comics had the license until 2005 and released a 6-issue miniseries, Revolution on the Planet of the Apes by Joe O'Brien, Ty Templeton, Sam Agro, and other writers, with art by Gabriel Morissette and additional artists. The story picked up shortly after Caesar's conquest of the Earth under the Apes' revolt and attempted to bridge the time gap between Battle for the Planet of the Apes, 1973. Further stories were slated for release, including the next planned title, Empire on the Planet of the Apes, but the graphic novel collecting the Revolution miniseries was canceled, as was the Empire follow-up. Today, Boom Comics has Planet of the Apes series, and it is the longest-running adaptation of the series, publishing more comics than Marvel, 29 issues, and Malibu, 50 issues. Beginning in April 2011, Boom Studios launched a new series written by novelist Daryl Gregory, illustrated by Carlos Magno, and edited by Ian Brill. Boom is developing comic books based on the original franchise as well as the new franchise. Boom and IDW Publishing published a crossover between Planet of the Apes and Star Trek, the original series, titled Star Trek Planet of the Apes, The Primate Directive. Boom and Dark Horse have given us a Tarzan Planet of the Apes crossover as well.